Bits and Bytes podcast number 8. That's 8. We are on for 8, and we're excited to be here. I'm Matt Scott with my co-host
Joey Wensler,
and we got a great special guest today. We have Mr. Ben Watkins, who is Area 8 Coordinator, DPR 6 Executive Director, North Carolina DPS Emergency Management Leader. Man, Ben, that's a lot. We are super excited to have you here with us. We got a lot of good stuff for you. Just to, before we kick everything off here, level set. The Bits and Bytes podcast was started by ByteWorks to create and share key updates, innovations, trends, and best practices in the technology space. Our goal is to create a community and learn and grow from each other, which is why we are super excited to have you here, Ben, because we know you're a wealth of knowledge. We've had you with us a couple months ago with the AFCEA event, and appreciate you coming back and sharing. I know we're doing a demo with you up there right now, which is I cannot wait to capture that and share your thoughts on that. So thanks for joining us today, Ben.
Hey man, no problem. I appreciate the invite back. I had a lot of fun and learned a lot while I was down there, and hopefully we can continue to progress things forward.
Yep.
So you said down there, which means you're up there, and I see the NC, which also means North Carolina. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
There you go. You mentioned the AFCEA event, but you also mentioned one of those feared acronyms, Matt. And you know how I get intimidated by acronyms because I want to know what they actually mean. So you said DPR, which means disaster preparedness and response, right?
It's actually domestic preparedness region.
Okay, see, that's important.
Yep.
North Carolina, in every government agency, we can't all agree on the same lines and districts. So everybody's got different areas and regions. I'm the Area 8 Coordinator, but also the Domestic Preparedness Region 6 Executive Director. So we have 9 domestic preparedness regions, and that's basically, I've got 10 counties under my purview for that one. And what that role is in a domestic preparedness region, we get a set amount of money each year in Homeland Security money just for those regions, and I help facilitate and get those 10 counties to basically cooperate, see what we need to do to spend that money and be fiscally responsible. Also, what can that money be put forth to help further domestic preparedness, in that to include like election safety, search and rescue, any type of hazmat, just basic public safety. That's what we're all here for, because no matter how much we joke about safety third or something like that, it's always safety first, and our job is to make sure the citizens of whatever state we're in, go home at night.
Yeah, and we appreciate that as citizens. Thank you for that effort and that focus, Ben. You gave a little bit around, some of the elements that you touch on. Any other pieces on your role to kind of capture, your responsibility, your focus areas, leveraging technology, et cetera? Just kind of a brief kind of, especially as an emergency management leader, give us a little bit about what you're looking at.
So I mentioned Area 8. The North Carolina Emergency Management, we're broken up into 3 branches. In North Carolina, we've got East, Central, and West. So East, it's the coastline, our coastal plain. Central, it's the Piedmont region. And then western part of North Carolina is all mountains. So that mountains, foothills is what we're looking at. I am located in the Central branch, so our Central Piedmont region. And each one of these branches is broken up into 5 areas. And so we've got 6 through 10 in our area, and I'm Area 8. And what that entails is I'm in field operations. So I am over Area 8, which I'm the link between 7 counties. 7 counties are under my purview. And that I'm the voice of those 7 counties to the State Emergency Operations Center. So if we had, you guys were affected by pretty much the entire East Coast, the weather front that came through.
Yep, that was nasty.
And so when we had a couple tornado warnings pop off, and my job, I was in constant contact with those various county EOCs, the county local emergency managers. Hey, what do you need? What do you want from us? How can I support you? And it might be, hey, just monitor, help me run some admin paperwork down on the back end, to I'll be out on the scene as a first responder, following that tornado as it goes. I've got jurisdictional authority across the state. So they might stop at their county line. No, I'm going to follow that all the way until somebody above me says, all right, stop, next person take over.
Yeah.
That all said, what my job really boils down to, and I mentioned it, I am the link between counties to state, and I make sure the state is supporting our county partners as much as we can with whatever their needs are. And
So smart to have that infrastructure and that piece. It's so pivotal to being able to respond effectively and efficiently, I should say. So in lines with that, what is some of the greatest challenges that you face in your role? And, when you're responding to these emergencies, what do you wish you had? What are your improvements?
Personally, for doing my job, what I wish I had is, first off, the variety of stuff I respond to. We just had a call out. We've got it in the eastern part of our branch. We've got an active search going on right now. So search and rescue, hazmat, storm response. And I reference the variety of stuff we go to down to civil disturbance is I need something that shows all my stuff. And when I say all my stuff, all the resources down to a physical map, down to where are my assets moving and what all do I have out there? What is their status? And that's one thing that we're working on demoing tomorrow is a common operating picture. And right now we have one, and it's doing its job. We're making it work. But the thing is, at some point, we don't need to make it work. We need to have it work, and it takes less off of us, because I might be going down the road in the middle of a horrible thunderstorm, and I have been. I've been running down Interstate 85, responding to a tornado. I couldn't even see 3 cars in front of me. I've got 2 radios and 2 cell phones going off, and I'm trying to juggle it all while maintaining, just not crashing into a barrier.
Yeah.
So, and if I had a computer pulled up, and that's one thing, hey, PSA, kids don't, eyes forward, don't look at anything else while you're driving on the road. What if I had something showing me where everything was, and I could just push button, and some of the stuff that I'm working with you guys on, possibly to get a demo, or working on with a demo, and if it can work out, then it just makes life a lot simpler to have a fully encompassing common operating picture.
Yeah, that and just for our listeners and clarity, and we're super excited to be working on this with you. You are referring to the ByteWorks informed environments, common operating platform that we are, working feverishly with you, and also integrating our partners, Blue Force and some of these other elements to provide that, single pane of glass for you to be able to have that viewpoint. And we're really excited to get your feedback on that. Our goal is to provide you with the ability to make more informed decisions faster. Bill Miles, who leads our Fed team, has a saying that says, "Seconds save lives." And the more ability for us to make an informed decision with clear understanding of the data, and not having to sift through the data too, right? I think that's probably a big thing is what am I looking at? Because you could have data overload.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Data overload, when we activate, go to full activation for hurricane response, because we're the East Coast, and North Carolina has its chin right out there in the Gulf Stream to catch any hurricanes. When we activate, I have 2 positions under me, and their job is, hey, we've got all this information coming in. I need you, and I'm just the logistics chief on my team in that role. And it's, tell me, I can't sort through all this data. Here's what I need. So I've got 2 people, their job, 12 hours a day, just sort through this data. And here's the 5 bullet points that I need out of it. And that's how long it takes those guys. I've got 1 night shift, 1 day shift. And so it takes 24 hours of sorting data for me to come in the morning on day shift and be like, okay, I can go straight to the incident commander. This is what we got. And so if I had something, because, if I could, like you said, single pane of glass, something that I could pull out, then I could just take those guys who are way more credentialed in everything else, and we could dedicate them to a more life safety or critical role, rather than I just need help sorting through data. Because if I can't sort through my data, I can't push as logs chief. I can't make sure the operations gets what they need to function.
And it sounds like you can make quicker decisions from, just kind of, ability to make a quicker decision, more informed decision, and that helps everybody around you. And is what I heard. So
Yeah, and not only that, but having all those different points of view and angles, like a four-way stop, everybody sees it differently, and all of those points of view are important to determine what actually happened, right? It's what I said, what she said, but then what really happened, right? It's somewhere in between. And I'm sure you guys get a lot of those calls up in North Carolina. You mentioned those three distinct areas or districts, east, central, and west. What are the unique challenges in each of those? You mentioned the West being in the mountains and foothills, Central being Piedmont, but what are some differentiating factors in protecting all three of those areas?
And we're all hazards, but each branch, a hazard will affect each one differently. A hurricane, typically hurricanes coming from the coast. Now we've had some hook up from the Gulf, run right up, through Alabama, Georgia on up, and that, affects the mountains, but it's the same hazard, but different effects. In the mountains, if we get a significant weather event that has a lot of rain, we're going to be looking at a lot of flash flooding because, it's mountains, steep, all the water's just going to come down. It's going to wipe out infrastructure such as roads and everything else. Down east, we get inundated in flood waters. We're lose infrastructure, but a lot of times just temporary. The rivers are going to rise. We might get some bridges under water. But then if we have significant wind, then we're going to lose power lines. But that's everywhere across the state. But then once the waters recede, if down east, our bridges will still be there. Just quick DOT engineer check, thumbs up, good to go. Rather, we don't need DOT engineers on some of our flash floods in the mountains because it's like, wow, the bridge is just not there. There's nothing to look at. So it's like, well, we know we can't drive on that one. And so that it's same hazards, it affects it differently. And one of the things with we all, professionally pick on each other. The mountains are like, oh, we're the best. We see all the snowstorms, all the extreme search and rescues because, the terrain's a lot different. Down east, they're like, oh, we take on the hurricanes. We're the best and everything. And here we're like, okay, you're right. You guys face that. We don't have those extremes. But you know what? Who are the ones they're always calling to back them up? The Central Park, because we got you on either side. So we got to know how to handle it all.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, all right, man, and it's just trying to figure it out. And we face our own. Matter of fact, in the central part of the state, one of the biggest hazards we always face, winter storms. And you might go, what's up with that? Shouldn't mountains get a lot more snow. Here we get freezing rain, and that will do extreme power grid damage.
And the mountains probably, I have to assume, don't have as many population as you probably have. So while they're getting extremes, it's not affecting people as much from a number standpoint as when you're in the central the state and in between sea and mountains, you have the population right there.
The populated branch. You are correct.
Yep.
So we have
I just armed you and to fire back at them guys, right? So they need to step back, in their rural areas. You're the guy that's, actually
I'll
handling
be the first to pull a Mel Gibson, throw my kilt up, So
I love it. That's great. So, where I was going with that, I'm glad, Joey, that you brought up the other regions. And I'm thinking about it even from another level. If you're facing these challenges in your position, do you think it's fair to think that there's others in other states that are, similarly facing, might not be the exact same challenges, but the same needs that you might be? Do you share that with them?
Yeah, we integrate with our surrounding states because, a disaster is just not going to stop at a state or district line. And so I get over into South Carolina every now and then. We had a body recovery on the PD River not too long ago, and we had to call down South Carolina, hey, if this guy dislodges from underneath, you guys might want to be picking him up downstream, to running searches across the Virginia line into Virginia. And then we bleed over with Tennessee all the time because the way the mountains are going. I mean, that's just, it's natural. It's what it is. We've lost wildfires that have overrun into Georgia. So and I say all that because first off, we interface all those guys surrounding, but North Carolina EM, we're one of the top well, I work for them, so we're the best. I'm going to say that. But no, it's there's certain states that they just like everywhere else you're going to see, and they usually hold their guys to a higher standard, and they know, and they've seen people perform, and they know they do well. And so North Carolina, we're all the time getting EMAC requests. EMAC is Emergency Management Assistant Compacts. And that's something's going on. And there's essentially like a little board that's the EMAC board, and a state will throw something up, be like, hey, we need 10 people, 2 Swiftwater teams, something like that. And we can pay this much for them. Who can do it? And so that other states will chip in. And prime example, we just sent 2 Swiftwater teams and 2 liaison officers up to Vermont for all that flash flooding they had. And they spent 15 days up there. And so when we do that, we interface with all these other states. And so we've got our counterparts in Texas. I talked to some of those guys a lot. Actually, one of our guys, he went to work for Texas not too long ago, or TDEM, Texas Department of Emergency Management. So we talked to those guys. We always talk to all the other agencies at the state level and local level, but it's always the same. And that's the way it always is no matter how much in time, we need a better understanding of all the information, something where we can figure it out, because afterwards at every AAR, there's going to be people, man, I didn't know that was happening. Oh, I didn't know that was an option. And it's because there's so much coming in. It's just nature of the beast. And there's so few of us that we can't process it all. So to have something single pane that we can, that's not going to solve everything, but it's going to make it a heck of a lot easier.
Sure. Along those lines, if you're probably one of the closest individuals right now as we're, partnering with you to do our common operating, platform demo, and sharing with you a lot of the capabilities that we have. What excites you the most about what you're seeing from the ByteWorks platform and what we're bringing to you, whether you've seen it or heard about it from Bill? What are you most excited about?
What I'm most excited about is actually the ease of integration. And that might not be the correct thing to say, but operator or ease of use, I should say, for us to be able to go instantly in the field. And one reason we're doing it right now is for you guys and the viewers, we're actually going through and teaching one of our land search field team member classes, which is a 60-hour course that is sponsored by the state, and it's to become a credentialed wilderness search and rescue personnel. And so that's your state credentials, just like anything else. And we are doing a live demo while they're doing their field training portion. So we're actually going to have actual search teams out as assets and everything else. And so we're going to piggyback on that. And to reference your question, what am I most excited about? It's for us to be able to, like, at my fingertips, I can assign teams. I can say, here's their goal, here's their mission. And while they're out there, actually see them. And they're going to be, this instance, their example, they're going to be a search mission. So while they're out there, they're going to be instantly live track. So I can see where my teams are right away. We're going to be able to populate clues when they find a search clue or something like that, populate it right to the map. And so it's going to be building along the way, because right now we got to wait for them to call something in. Guys are scribbling on their notepads, and we got to physically type it all in, and it's the whole telephone game. And there's not too many telephone calls in that, but stuff gets lost in translation.
Sure.
So down to, we might lose that critical clue in translation because one guy said, oh, it's an old t-shirt. And somebody over here is just scribbling stuff down. They just say, we found a t-shirt. Okay, whatever. People lose clothes in there all the time. But that might be the critical piece that we're looking for, is like, no, that's the clue we need. You guys are hot on the trail. And if we aren't able to register that because something got lost in translation, then it'll take, and we could just lose that edge, seconds save lives, because in the end, we've only got a finite amount of time on this earth, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 100 years. You never know.
Indeed.
That's
Indeed. Great. One thing I was thinking about, you talk about, search and rescue, but my mind automatically goes to the most dramatic. So have you ever been in a situation where maybe there's a manhunt, maybe an escaped, criminal, or a fugitive that, Harrison Ford reference there, but like to where
dye your hair.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe he goes from Georgia up to North Carolina because they connect, and he comes into your neck of the woods. How is that handled on a general 10,000 foot view? But maybe give us a couple nuggets that maybe all of these Hollywood movies don't really provide an accurate picture of.
Usually there's a couple people I call for advice when it happens, and usually the first one's like either Wesley Snipes, Tommy Lee Jones, something like that. They can usually provide something. But no, matter of fact, the guys we have teaching here, they're one of the contractors that we use. It's Pineland Resources, and they run Pineland University. These guys are retired special forces. They did, you know, 5th group, ODA, stuff like that. And so their job, Charlie Williams, he's in charge of it. And first off, he's a good dude. I'm kind of giving him a plug here because, I mean, he's a family friend, and I call him all the time when we have stuff like this, because for one, he's subject matter expert. He's the I'll kill you with a spoon type deal. So, but you know, man tracking, I've seen that guy physically walk up to a car in a parking lot and be like, well, there's 2 dudes left this car. One weighs 180 pounds. He wears size 8 boots. The other weighs 200 pounds. They went that direction about 2 hours ago. One's smoking Pall Malls. The other's drinking Miller Lite, you know, and so everybody's like, and then you're like, oh, that one guy, he's got new boots. And they're like, dude, he's in a parking lot. How did you figure that out? Yeah. And it's pure observation. It's because he knew what to look for. Hell, he just looked in the back seat of the car and read the receipt, what was on there. Right. And so I say that, and yes, you're like, oh man, that was easy. No, but that's because, and I'm giving you all the Pineland's background because these guys are subject matter experts. They actually get called out by sheriff's departments on manhunts. And remember when at the AFC event, I gave one example, Jason Crisp. He was the federal officer in his K-9 that were gunned down that ambush. Yeah. The guys who tracked the fugitive up after they were gunned down the officer were trained by Pineland and were trained in how to do it. And so, yes, if we have a fugitive or something like that, there are people that we call, and there are certain people that we know, hey, they're going to get the job done. And so I'm always seeking advice and everything else. Now, how can our technology, or how can we use technology to help us out with that? First off, Pineland is a private entity. They are more than willing to work with us on using some of the same software, same systems that we have, but just like everything else, we're a different agency. So how can we do some of that interagency operability, get our systems to mesh with each other? So if we had some user-friendly, then instantly we could mesh together. They could see what we see. We could see at the command post exactly what these teams, you know, the law enforcement teams that we got out, and I'm using the fugitive situation to go with.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you know, you could also provide them with a lot more informative information. Yeah.
Hey Matt, I actually brought the Pineland guys in here. It's Charlie, and just shout out to this.
Hey Charlie. Appreciate all you're doing and what Ben and Bill has shared. That's huge. So thanks.
If you don't mind, if you could show us the spoon trick that Ben was talking about. You can practice on William if you want.
Hey, who's he gonna kill though? Wait.
Joey said he could practice on you, Bill. No. Yeah.
Oh yeah, don't mess with that guy.
So you want to talk about Pineland real quick?
Yeah, most of the guys that are in Pineland, our group, so to speak, are a lot of different backgrounds. We've got retired special forces guys like myself. We've got retired Charlotte Fire Department guys, current fire department, current rescue, retired, you know, SF out of 10th group, various backgrounds, but we have a lot of years of experience, as you can tell by all the gray matter in this beard I'm wearing. But we've been working, doing search and rescue, man tracking, just basic wilderness survival for many, many years. A lot of it's because we just like doing it, and we grew up doing it and didn't realize that, you know, one day we may end up having to teach it. I even travel, a buddy of mine, he teaches a tracking school, Mike Hull tracking school in Virginia. Me and him are thinking along the same lines, and I help him out, and hopefully I'm gonna get him to come down and help me out with some classes. But we're doing something that a lot of other people are not doing, and that is old school technology, and we're also incorporating modern technology into that, so that we're trying to not just make ourselves better, but the people we're training make them better, which will in turn help their community, state, whatever. And it's a fun gig. I really enjoy it. It's nothing better than being in the woods, playing around and watching people who, you know, they couldn't track a biscuit, you know, and then all of a sudden they're tracking somebody.
Wow. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's really impressive. You know, Charlie, one of the things I was thinking about when Ben was describing how y'all work together in an area that could be opportunistic by what we've been talking about on, you know, incorporating the ability to share more information. I'm sure, and I'm making an assumption here, but I'm sure it'd be more helpful to you if you started getting some additional data points that Ben could provide, such as, hey, there's a weather pattern coming in here, or we know that, you know, they're not going to be here because this is getting dumped on, or, you know, when you're using the example of a fugitive, we know that we tracked all this area over here, you know, overlaying a map or whatever, or, you know, tracking somebody or from a search
Heat
standpoint
sensors, stuff like that.
by a GPS, you know, bracelet that shows kind of the fields that you've gone back and forth or combed through, et cetera. And I'm making assumptions, but I'm thinking that, you know, you could benefit from that in you know, your cross functional roles together.
Well, we kind of sort of do in some degree already. And like whenever we're looking for a missing subject, whether it's a fugitive or just a simple lost person, we do a lost subject profile. And even the FBI didn't realize that we were doing this stuff until they started coming down and participating with a lot of missing children events. But, you know, we look at profiling the subject, you know, based off of, like, for instance, if it's an Alzheimer's patient, they don't have the capacity to look at, say, a thick briar thicket and say, I'm not going in there. Their mind tells them just keep walking. And they will keep walking and walking until they get stopped, hung up, and we have located them before, you know, stuck in a briar thicket and can't move.
Sure.
Someone's backyard up against a chain link fence, you know, 3 foot high, they just can't move. But knowing that type of activity, where to look for, where to search and everything else, and using not only, you know, written data, but also electronic data to build a platform for being able, if we have somebody else that's you know, sick or whatever, and they're doing something very similar, we can look at that, go in areas that others have gone in the past.
Yep.
But yeah, it's and it can be taken a step further. You know, anyone that's got an area, let's say there's here in town, there's a old folks home. Yeah, they can pre-plan that, you know, for events.
Because we can take his analysis and, you know, doing the subject profile and something that I talked about the AFSI event, and start, you know, loading all these case studies and past events as well as our profiles, and referencing what he was saying about preloading stuff. It'll start, you know, working with some type of common operating platform if we can get it mixed in there and give us sort of some predictive analysis of, hey, you know, as soon as we get there and start doing any type of the search management portion, and these working with teams like Charlie's here, that we're going to start drawing up missions. But if we have some type of predictive analysis, they're going to say, hey, you know, look, it's probably beneficial to look at this area first. And what we go off of for that is experience and knowledge that these guys bring. And that's sort of the old school technology that they're talking about. I'm not calling you old, but
I am.
it's the, you know, these guys.
You better be careful. He's got a spoon on him.
Yeah.
Well, he knows where I live and everything else. If he's gonna kill me, he's gonna kill me. It's good. But
Not happening today.
he's gonna wait till the end of class. But it's gonna take their institutional knowledge that sometimes these guys can't go out because they're on other missions, they're doing other duties. And if we get folks out there who aren't as versed in this field or these type of fields, whether it's search, whether it's disaster relief or hazmat or something like that, we can take the institutional knowledge that, you know, specialists have and start combining in predictive analysis, and that'll help us further our job for somebody who doesn't have that experience. I'm not saying that AI is not going to replace human interface.
No,
My
no.
opinion.
We've had this conversation a lot in a lot of different areas. You know, AI is not, you know, going to replace the human, you know, interaction and in a lot of different areas. It's going to help it, but it's not going to replace it. So I know I want to be mindful of your time. You guys are doing this event. I speak on the behalf of ByteWorks. I speak on behalf of Bill, my team, and all of our leadership over here. We are super excited to be working with y'all. We thank you for your time. We are looking forward to getting your input, your feedback from the demo that you guys are doing up there. So, you know, please share what you like, you know, what we can improve on, how we can help you improve. We want to do this. We want to help you. We want to make you better leveraging technology, and we want to go help more. So thank you guys for taking time out of your busy day today. And thank you for partnering with us. So really appreciate you joining the Bits and Bytes podcast, number 8.
Hey, man, no problem. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you, Charlie.
Hey, good seeing you, fellas.
All right, thank y'all.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye-bye.